Old yellow bus shut its doors, sneezed and kept his way to the faraway village. Stepan left standing in the clouds of dust, moved a cap on his eyes, took his backpack and strode to his house. Almost 8 years this man was not at his home village, but nothing has changed here. Same dark and painted huts, same hand water pump on the central street next to which chatter local women, same grey geese while moving to a shallow pond spread their wings, same kids dashing through bumps on bikes. Gonna make a surprise for my mother. She doesn't know that I got released already. Stepan was approaching the house from the garden side. Right now, he will knock on the mother's room window. Old woman will peek through the window, will cross herself, and will hurry to open the door. Then she will cry on his chest, wiping her tears with ends of the white headscarf, and will hastily set the table. Man threw his cigarette away and gently knocked on the window. Once, twice, one more time. There was no response. He folded his hands over his head and nestled to the glass. Small room was perfectly pristine, but there was no mother. Stepan sweared and stepped to the porch. Just when he touched the latch, the door opens. He barely dodged the water splashed out at his feet. "Why do you, Maria Sergeyevna, strive to dose your son? Aren't you happy?" Skinny old lady closed her mouth with a hand and gave out a toothless smile. "Ah, Stepan, you're back, and I was waiting for you to come tomorrow. Here's Dozhdova is preparing for pies," said woman fastly and happily. Come in quick, don't hold the door." She nuzzled into his shoulder and led her son inside the house. After an hour, Stepan violently bet the blue tomes on his shoulders with an oak bath broom in a steamy sauna, and was for tasting tasty dinner with his favorite borscht. But in the evening, while sitting on a porch with a cigarette in his teeth, this man at the first time thought about how he will live on. Trying to find a work about a week, Stepan got sad. No one hurried to employ an ex-convict. They told him to come tomorrow, or in a week, or they even rejected him right away, and for good. That's why he was very glad when men suggested him to go to the sawmill. Myron Makarov, his ex-classmate, will surely help me, hoped Stepan. His things are going well, people are needed, and he wasn't wrong. He got employed to be a mover. But there was rumors that Makarov isn't that good of a lad. But Stepan hoped that childhood friend won't let him down. The days of hard physical work in the company of him-alike gloomy poor fellows were passing. In the evening, tired, with a hunched back and scratched over uncouth locks hands, he was barely getting home. He was eating without a taste and was getting to bed only to go dragging broad to be sawed wood next morning. The only bright spot in all of this was the salary, which was inescapably approaching day after day. Stepan already dreamed about what he will buy his mother with the first wage, about how he will give her money for the household, and will stop hiding his sight when his mother puts a dish in front of him. But dreams of this man was not destined to come true. The day before the salary will be given, Myron gathered the brigade and said, "Get out of here, all of you, thieves! There will be no wage for you. Customers collected a fine from me for the stolen wood." Lads that were trying to protest were just thrown in the streets by guards, and Stepan was threatened with a new term if he wouldn't come down. He was trumped with the circumstances. Messing with Makarov is hopeless. He had already bribed the local administration and was going to run for the district head. Stepan got depressed and started drinking, imagining how he will be trying to find work with the creek again. "I'm better back in prison than live like this, but free," he complained to his mother, through drunk and choking him tears. Maria Sergeyevna, consoling his son, asked him to stop drinking and turn to God, visit the neighboring village and go to church. Approaching the neighboring village in a bumpy bus in the early morning, this man was deeply lost in thought. Light clouds floated across the sky. Golden domes and crosses of the high church were shined up by the sun rays. A loud bell ringing was flying above the village, notifying about the start of the worship. Not daring to break already started worship, Stepan was standing in front of the church gates, squeezing in hands a cap that he took off. He was not a churchman, and he didn't know what to do. Already going to turn back, he suddenly felt a light touch. "Why aren't you coming in, my son?" A gray-haired pope was standing next to him. "Is your conscience not clear? Or is it timidity overcoming you?" Stepan was going to pull his hand back, but he took a deep breath and suddenly started to hotly tell everything that was filling his soul. Pope was very interested in his story and was getting more and more gloomy. With a gesture, he invited a man for a walk and led him in a path around the church to an old graveyard. "If your soul is full of humility and you came here for help, you will get it. But could you handle this work that is hard not only in physical way, but also in a moral way?" Stepan was looking at the speaker in stupor. "People not only being born, but also dying, you know," he continued. "And they are to be buried in a Christian way. We need good hands on our graveyard." As so, this man became a graveyard worker. He was digging graves, painting the fence, making crosses. Father Mikhail actively participated in his faith, and when he was sure in Stepan's purity of thoughts, he gave him an old car Zhiguli for the trips with the different instructions. Life slowly started to improve. Stepan got honestly earned money, and then he got a little friend. That day, a light autumn rain started from the morning. A heavy gray sky was hanging above his head. Father Mikhail warned about 2 burials, and the man sat down on the porch of Graveyard's lodge to have a lunch before hard work. Eating sandwiches with pleasure that his mother made him, he was watching how the bad weather was progressing and was worrying about dirty clothes in advance. Reaching for another portion of food, he found an empty plate only and stared into the bag with a surprise. It was empty, although Stepan remembered that there were a few more sandwiches. He looked around with an interest and noticed a little white tail peeking from behind a pile of ropes laying in a corner. Carefully carrying this little thief around, he whistled loudly and with a dash threw away the ropes. 2 little alert eyes of the white puppy was staring at the man while he was covering the bitten sandwich with his chest. Stepan caught the little one by the scarf and laughed loudly. "Stealing? And not scared of the punishment?" Little one covered his eyes and pinned the ears. It seems that it wasn't the first time for him to be beaten. Man turned the puppy about, which didn't even squeak, looking at him from different angles. "And you're a brave fellow. Interesting. Who's the owner?" Then he saw the thinness of the dog, absence of the dog collar, dirty white fur. "Ah, you're a waif." Man took off his kilted jacket and threw it in the lodge. "Wait here. We'll go home together." Returning in the evening, he found little one curled up in his coat jacket. He carried the dog into his car carefully so that he wouldn't wake up, and solemnly, like an expensive prize, handed him over to Mother Maria Sergeyevna. "Oh, you brought a mongrel. What for do we need it?" Stepan's mother was looking the puppy over. "1 extra mouth, that's what we needed." "Mom, stop. He wouldn't eat that much. Don't worry." Stepan stubbornly tilted his head. "I can't leave him on a graveyard. Maybe I was dreaming of the dog since my childhood, and you like extra mouth, extra mouth." Old lady saw that her son is being serious. "If you want him to live here, go and wash him and take a bath yourself. You're all covered in mud." Fat little one sweetly stretched out on a rug. Son was dozing in front of the TV. Maria Sergeyevna was washing the dishes and thought, "It seems that everything is going well. Sin to anger fate. But why did he brought this fellow?" Old lady leaned over, examining the foundling. Steep head, with standing ears and a fluffy white tail. Puppy first time left in the warmth was stretching in his sleep. Well, let him stay. He'll guard the house. What? Wouldn't I really feel one extra bowl of soup? Old woman touched dog's paw. He opened his eyes and bared his teeth. Angry lad, I'll call you Yari. In the morning, during the breakfast, Stepan watched a funny scene. Mother was cooking pancakes, and every third one she gave to the puppy. He caught hot delicacy and throwing it back up, ran around the kitchen. Then, with appetite, ate it and ran for a new portion. Also, old lady said that Yarek is still young and won't come with Stepan to walk. Let him guard the garden and chase insolent hares and neighborhood chicken. Yarek, cute name, smiled man, understanding that mother accepted the dog. Dog grew up and got mature by spring. His help is now needed on the graveyard. Stepan, who was the leader of a small team at the moment, learned to use stone processing machine. Father Mikhail blessed Stepan for a loan taking, and ex-prisoner enthusiastically started making beautiful marble headstones. It was brave dog's duty to guard the work equipment at night. Old mother really missed the loved one and often persuaded her son to leave a dog home just for a day. Sometimes Stepan gave up and agreed. Then a couple made themselves happy holiday with tasty meals in front of a TV. That day was one of like. It was a sunny day of May. When the true warmth came, village garden started to grow quickly. An old lady with a dog spent half a day on weeding. Maria Sergeyevna did the weeding, and Yarek was diligently carrying piled up wheat. Tired of this kind of assistant, old lady broke a long stick and threatened the hooligan. Dog happily ran into the house, where a rich pie with chicken and cabbage was baking in the oven. Now they are going to drink tea with pie and watch favorite shows. Old lady wiped sweat from the forehead with a headscarf and followed the dog, collecting scattered wheat by the way. She barely stepped over the doorstep as two men followed her inside. Unshaved faces, sinister eyes. Intentions of these lads were more than understandable. Spreading the dense smell of alcohol, Ginger Big Guy started to talk first. "Greetings, mother. And where is the son? He works? Disdains to communicate with his mates?" Maria Sergeyevna backed away and covered the entry to the room with herself. "I guess we're not welcome here, skinny scum," easily pushed old lady away and tried to go in. But met with an angry barking of a faithful dog, he jumped out right away. "Remove the dog or I'll kill him!" Voice of the speaker became a high falsetto. Yarek hung on his leg just above the dirty shoe, stranglehold, and kept clamping his jaw. Tall man tried to throw off the dog with a kick, but Shorty kept moving inside the house, making it difficult to deal with the dog. Then the shotgun was took out. Ginger aimed, shot banged. Skinny grabbed his shot knee and yelled a lot louder. Maria Sergeyevna ran out of the hut, and inside there was a true massacre. Shots were fired, and loud barking at some point became a howl. Old lady ran on the street with a scream, and neighbors armed with axes and pitchforks came up her way. After 40 minutes, unlucky burglars were arrested by the police, and Sergeyevna bended over the dog, pressing wet cloth on the giant wound on his side. Here Stepan found her, after getting the call on the cell phone. "Son, do something." Old lady raised her face filled with tears to his son. Stepan estimated the situation and picked up the dog. He almost ran to the house of the local vet. Andrei, help!" Cloth that was covering the wound was scarlet. Eyes of the dog rolled back. Tall thin fellow peeked out the window, chewing crumpled lunch. "Stepan, sorry, I'm not a specialist on this part." "You're a doctor." Man's lips were shaking. "I'm only on the 4th course of the Agricultural Academy." The guy threw up his hands. "Anyways, Carry him inside. Recently we had a course of the general surgery. Didn't think that practice will happen that soon. Returning back home at dusk, Stepan didn't know what to say to his mother. Future vet gave out a cheerless prognosis. If dog survives, he'll probably lose the ability to walk. Man came into the house and saw his mother leaned against a bleached furnace with a pale face. Answering the mute question, he shrugged. He's alive, but all the will of God. Old lady pressed her heart and closed her face with a headscarf. And at night, an ambulance got to Maria Sergeyevna's hut. Old woman felt very bad. She needed an urgent hospitalization. Dog has been recovering very slowly. Stepan took a vacation and all the time he spent with him and in hospital with his mother. As the vet prognosed, Dog couldn't walk anymore. Every try led to harsh falls and Yarek gave up. There was eternal feeling of guilt in his eyes. Dog almost did not look at his owner, tried not to eat and not to drink just to not make a mess around him. But without a good feeding he won't recover, Stepan thought. It's a vicious cycle. The only hope is recovering mother. Well, how's she going to help? She'll only worry again. In a windy June midday, Stepan was bringing old lady home. There was a tense silence inside of the car. Maria Sergeyevna tried to ask about Yarek, but Stepan didn't want to say anything. Actually, he didn't know what to say. Is he alive for sure? You're not hiding anything from me, are you? Mother strictly squeezed her lips. Stepan nodded and squeezed the steering wheel with all his strength. Grabbing onto a latch of the gate, Maria Sergeyevna tensely looked over the garden. Where is he? I don't believe that he doesn't feel me. Stepan turned away and swallowed nervously. Yarek, son, why aren't you welcoming us? Mother's voice, like a warm tune, floated above the yard. Where is my beautiful dog? Where is my good boy? Stepan was breathless. He imagined what is happening inside of the house with the lying dog. Aren't you missing me, my boy? Where is the hooligan hiding? I brought you some fresh gingerbread, but I'll eat them myself, if you don't want to. Man heard a quiet rustle behind and quickly turned around. From behind of the front door slowly showed up a dog nose, and Yarek, shaking, fell out on the porch. Looked at the old lady, thankfully reached for the suggested sweet, and weakly strided lower tail. Thanks for listening the story till the end. Subscribe to the channel, push the like button, and leave your comments. See you soon.